While Tesla has dominated the EV market for many years now, a ton of new and legacy automakers have been entering the market with fleets of impressive electric options. While a lot of the earliest EVs started off as niche products for the wealthy, many new models are being offered at price points that appeal to every level of customer. Now is one of the most exciting times to be looking into getting an EV, as tons of new cars are coming to market that push the boundaries of what EVs are and can do. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the most exciting new options coming later this year and beyond. We'll also be focusing on some of the more affordable options, so with that in mind, let's get into it. As I mentioned before, Tesla has been the most successful EV manufacturer in the world, and it makes sense that we should start by recapping their vehicles. After all, if you were looking to buy a new EV, then Tesla is likely the company you're the most familiar with, and might look at first. Tesla's best-selling vehicles are the Model 3 sedan and Model Y crossover SUV. The Model Y is currently the best-selling car in the world of any type and starts at $42,990 for the rear-wheel drive model with a 260-mile range battery and 0 to 60 in 6.6 seconds. The dual-motor all-wheel drive long-range trim costs an additional $5,000, bringing the total cost up to $47,990 for 310 miles of range and a 4.8-second 0 to 60. Lastly is the performance trim, which costs $51,490 in exchange for a higher top speed of 155 miles per hour, 279 miles of range, and a 3.5-second 0 to 60. If you live in the US and meet certain income requirements, then all trims of this vehicle are eligible for the full $7,500 federal EV tax credit. Tesla just did a pretty major refresh of their next best-selling vehicle, the Model 3 sedan. This refresh did a lot to improve the performance, build quality, and looks over the previous edition. The base rear-wheel drive model starts at $38,990 for 272 miles of range and a 5.8-second 0 to 60. Then the dual-motor all-wheel drive starts at $47,740 for 341 miles of range and a 4.2-second 0 to 60. Tesla also just released the new performance trim for this new Model 3, and that starts at $52,990 for a 296-mile range, increased top speed of 163 miles per hour, and a 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. That trim in particular also qualifies for the tax credit, whereas the other two don't. So the rear-wheel drive and long-range trims can actually cost more than the Model Y in practice if you qualify. Besides that, Tesla now offers 3 more luxury vehicles. First is their oldest mass-market vehicle, the Model S. The Model S starts at $72,990 for the dual-motor all-wheel drive model with 402 miles of range and a 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds. Beyond that, they offer the plaid version of that car with a record-breaking 1.99-second 0 to 60 and 359 miles of range for $87,990. Second is the Model X, Tesla's luxury SUV. The base dual-motor all-wheel drive model offers 335 miles of range and a 3.8-second 0 to 60 for $77,990. For qualified customers, that price is just low enough to still qualify for the full $7,500 EV tax credit. This model also offers a plaid variant at $92,990 for a 326-mile range and 2.5-second 0 to 60. And then there's the Cybertruck. This truck is currently available in 2 trims, the all-wheel drive and more powerful Cyber Beast trim. The all-wheel drive model, once they get past the initial Foundation series, starts at $79,990 for 340 miles of range, 600 horsepower, and a 4.1-second 0 to 60. The Cyber Beast is offered at $99,990 for 320 miles of range, 845 horsepower, and a 2.6-second 0 to 60. Both of these trims are only available right now for an additional $20,000. While Tesla is ramping up production of this vehicle, it's still slow for now, and they have several years worth of pre-orders to get through. So if you were ordering now, it may be a very long time until you can take delivery. In the future as well, they should be making their next-gen vehicle, which they've quoted at being $25,000 or possibly less ultimately, but we still haven't gotten anything concrete about when that will be coming, what it looks like, or anything. So on the more affordable side that's been revealed, let's take a look at 2 of the most exciting upcoming electric vehicles, the Rivian R2 and R3. Rivian makes some great vehicles with their R1T pickup truck and R1S SUV, but these 2 new vehicles are their attempt at making smaller and more affordable vehicles. Both of those models were announced in March, so we're still waiting on a lot of specifics here. What we do know is that the R2 will be a smaller sized SUV, 15 inches shorter than the R1S and 2 inches shorter than the Model Y. It will be possible to configure this vehicle to get over 300 miles of range in almost every trim package, including a tri-motor variant with a 0 to 60 of under 3 seconds. seconds. This car will be the first Rivian to feature a built-in NACS charge port, giving them access to the reliable Tesla supercharger network. The R2 will also feature a new camera system for increased autonomous driving and should prove to be a much more affordable alternative to the R1 series, starting around $45,000. Rivian is also working on another upcoming vehicle, the R3 crossover SUV. We don't have a ton of information on this vehicle yet, other than that it's built on the same platform as the R2 and will start deliveries later. It should be even smaller and less expensive than the R2, although we don't have a final price just yet. On top of that, the R3 will have a performance variant called the R3X. Rivian's current vehicles are eligible for half of the EV tax credit, but they are planning that these new vehicles will be fully eligible. Acura is in the process of launching their first electric vehicle, the ZDX SUV. Acura is the luxury division of Honda, who overall has been very late to entering the EV market. This vehicle uses GM's Ultium platform, which will provide 325 miles on the base trim and 288 miles on the Performance S trim. While the S trim will be sacrificing some range, it will make up for it by outputting 500 horsepower in the dual motor configuration. The car will feature a premium 14-speaker sound system with built-in Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Depending on trim and options, you can get this car starting at $65,745, and it goes up to $74,745. Then parent company Honda is working to release their first full EV option in the US this year, the Prologue SUV, starting around $47,400. It'll also be built on GM's Ultium platform, with around 300 miles of range and a 0 to 60 in 6.7 seconds. It'll have a simplified interior design, slanted infotainment screen, Apple CarPlay and Google Maps, wireless phone charger, and a 12-speaker sound system. Honda also showed off a concept recently for the Saloon, which has a unique sci-fi shape for now, but will likely not end up looking like this at all or not being released. They only revealed a few details, but the Saloon should feature steer-by-wire, as well as a high-density battery designed to minimize degradation. Lastly, for Honda, they're partnering with Sony to create an EV focusing on tech by 2026. The joint venture is called Inflator, and their first vehicle will reportedly have 45 cameras and sensors and start around $45,000. Next up is Kia, introducing the EV3 and EV4. The EV3 is a crossover SUV taking design cues from the recently released EV9. It's designed with highly sustainable materials, and we should expect it to start around $30,000. We expect this one by the end of 2024 or early 2025. Also coming in 2025 is the EV4 entry-level sedan, which could start as low as $35,000. It looks like Kia will beat both Rivian and Tesla in this segment, so if they can provide a decent range for that price, that will be a huge advantage for them very soon. Another legacy automaker, Chevy, has also been working to expand their EV lineup. The Equinox SUV entering production this year starts under $35,000 and qualifies for the full federal tax credit. It gets up to a 319-mile range, and now all Chevy SUVs are shipping with 17.7-inch interior touchscreens, similar to Tesla's. With the starting price under $30,000 after the tax credit, this car packs a lot of value. Chevy previously discontinued the beloved Bolt in 2023, but it will be replaced by a new Ultium Bolt in 2025. The new platform promises range increases as well as cost savings. It will, however, be a larger vehicle. If a small vehicle is what you're looking for, Mini is planning to unveil some new EVs this year and in 2025. First, the Mini Countryman is entering production this spring, starting around $42,000. It'll get around 230 miles of range. Then the Aceman is expected to start around $33,000 and will have at least 200 miles of range. That one will be coming later this year. Then in 2025, they should be releasing the Cooper, starting around $31,000 with about 200 miles of range. I think a lot of customers will be particularly excited to see a small Mini Cooper in an all-electric package. Chrysler will be releasing a compact crossover as soon as this year, the Airflow SUV. That one will start around $50,000 and could offer a range of up to 440 miles. We haven't heard much about specs though, so we'll have to see. Over at Dodge, the new Charger EV is supposed to be released later this year. This is a fully electric muscle car. It'll likely be priced above $60,000 and offer up to 670 horsepower with the Scat Pack trim. That one will deliver around 260 miles of range. The lower RT trim will have 496 horsepower and around 317 miles of range. Over at Ford, they will be releasing several new EVs this year, an Explorer EV and another unnamed but affordable EV. The Explorer EV recently set the record as the first all-electric vehicle to circumnavigate the globe. This car has launched in Europe with up to 374 miles of range on that testing cycle and a starting price under $50,000. They're also working on a new line of affordable EVs though, starting with a $25,000 compact crossover they plan to release by late 2026. The GMC Sierra EV, competing with the Ford F-150 Lightning, will start around $109,000 and is expected in the next couple of months. For that price, the launch edition Denali will have 754 horsepower, a 2-motor all-wheel drive powertrain, and around 400 miles of range. Ram is also releasing their electric pickup in 2024, the 1500 REV. That one is priced to compete starting at $58,000. It'll have 2 battery pack options, with the largest offering up to 500 miles of range, but that definitely won't be available for that $58,000 starting price. Lastly, for trucks, Canoo is planning to release their pickup in 2024 as well. I'm very excited for this one. Built from the ground up to be an EV, this truck will definitely have an advantage when it comes to storage capacity. It has a targeted horsepower of over 500 and more than 200 miles of range. I'm hoping it ends up being a lot more than 200 miles, but we'll have to wait and see if it actually makes it to market. It'll supposedly be priced between $35,000 and $50,000, but should also qualify for that full tax credit. That could end up making this truck extremely affordable. At the same time, Canoo is working on their lifestyle vehicle that entered production last year. It starts around $40,000, has a 200-mile range, and 350 horsepower. This is a very unique looking vehicle, loaded with features and a ton of cargo space, but it may end up being geared more for business customers than actual consumers. Competing with that last one, though, is the ID Buzz, a revival of the classic VW bus. This one has already released in Europe, with a slightly larger version being released in the US a little bit later. The American version will have up to 330 horsepower and around 260 miles of range. I expect it to start upwards of $50,000 though. Then Volkswagen ID.7, coming out this year, is their first fully electric sedan starting around $50,000. It'll have around 300 miles of range and 282 horsepower. Volvo's EX30 is a car that should be starting at $35,000 in the future. Their, quote, smallest ever SUV will have a 3.4-second 0 to 60, and we expect range around 275 miles. The EX90, also supposed to be fully launching this year, is a larger 7-seater SUV starting around $77,000. It has a 300-mile EPA range, 496 horsepower, and a 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds. Volvo's old subsidiary, Polestar, is also releasing several new EVs coming up. The Polestar 3, coming this summer, is set to compete with higher-end electric SUVs. It will start at $73,400, get a range of 315 miles EPA, 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds, and come with a very luxurious interior. One particularly premium feature as well is its active air suspension to achieve what they call the golden ride. Another coming from Polestar as soon as this month is the Polestar 4. This starts at $54,900, and they call it a performance SUV and innovative coupe. It gets up to 300 miles of range, a 3.7-second 0 to 60, and similarly delivers a very luxurious interior. One notable change there is a horizontal center display inside. Fisker is on the rocks right now, so there's a very real chance none of these following vehicles come to pass. But they are planning to introduce several new EVs in 2025. The Pear, Alaska, and Ronin. The Pear would be a crossover SUV starting around $30,000, offered in rear or all-wheel drive. It should have a 6-second 0 to 60 and 2 battery configurations that could offer up to 320 miles of range. This one has a unique Houdini trunk that opens by sliding down for compact parking spaces. The Fisker Alaska, aiming to start around $45,000, is a mid-size pickup truck with a 4.5-foot bed that can extend to 7.5 feet and then 9.2 feet when the rear seats are lowered. As for range, it should have 2 battery options that will likely offer between 230 and 340 miles of range. It'll have a single and dual motor variant, getting a 0 to 60 as low as 3.9 seconds. Then the Fisker Ronin could be a hardtop convertible sports car coming a little later. They claim it'll have up to 600 miles of range and a 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. They only plan to build 999 of those in total, and you'll have to pay $385,000 to get one. 600 miles of range is impressive, but it might have a hard time competing with much if it ever comes to market. The Lucid Gravity is an SUV expected to be released later this year, seating up to 7 with a 0 to 60 under 3.5 seconds. It'll have a 440-mile range, and it'll start under $80,000. This is Lucid's second EV to be released and marks an important step for the company toward making more affordable vehicles. This should be a pretty compelling EV when it's released and have a lot of good competitors in that category. Jeep will also be releasing 2 EVs around that price range later this year. The Jeep Recon, inspired by the Wrangler, will be an off-roading focused vehicle expected to start around $60,000. It'll have a power folding rooftop and removable doors, but they haven't revealed many details beyond that. Then the Wagoneer S, coming later, will be the electric equivalent of the Grand Cherokee and will start at $80,000. That one will have up to 400 miles of range, 600 horsepower, and a 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. The interior will be more focused on luxury with 4 displays, a 19-speaker sound system, and front massaging chairs. Over at BMW, they recently released the i5 sedan starting at $67,795. It comes in 2 trims, a rear-wheel drive eDrive 40 model with 335 horsepower, and a dual-motor M60 xDrive variant that boosts horsepower to 590. At the same time, they're working on their next-generation EV platform that promises range improvements of up to 30% over current models. That new platform, dubbed 3 Series, will have a production version arriving by 2026. Then they also will be bringing their first electric crossover to the United States in 2026, the iX3. We expect the upcoming Audi A6 e-tron to be fully revealed later this year, but for right now, it's just a concept car. This is the latest vehicle to be built on the VW Group's Premium Electric Vehicle Platform, PPE, that will be the basis for all future Audi and Porsche EVs. We don't have a ton of details on this car so far, but its dual-motor design will output 469 horsepower and could have as much as 400 miles of range. It is expected to cost anywhere between $80,000 and $100,000 depending on the trim and options. Audi is also preparing to release its Q6 e-tron, a mid-size SUV meant to sit price-wise between the Q4 and Q8 SUVs. The Q6 is expected to start around $66,000 and go all the way up to around $81,000. Bentley is planning to do a 180, replacing several of their models with EVs, with the first one coming in 2025. Buick is reviving the Electra name, but this time as a fully electric SUV. The brand's first electric model should be coming to China first, but is likely to be arriving in the US later this year. This car will be built on GM's Ultium platform and is expected to share pretty similar performance and range to the Cadillac Lyriq, which also rides on that platform. If true, we can expect it to get about 340 horsepower and travel about 300 miles on a charge. It's expected to cost between $50,000 and $70,000 when released. Speaking of Cadillac, that brand is expected to launch 4 different models this year and next. On the lowest end of the price spectrum is the Cadillac Optic. This compact electric crossover should be coming at the end of this year, but we don't have a ton of details just yet. The car is expected to share a lot of parts with the Chevy Equinox EV and as such should perform similarly. If that is the case, we can expect a single motor 210 horsepower front-wheel drive trim and then a dual motor 290 horsepower all-wheel drive trim. This car is expected to get 300 miles of range in its lowest range configurations and should start around $40,000 to $45,000. Next year, the brand is expected to fully unveil their 3-row luxury SUV, the Vistique. Given the brand and the size of this vehicle, analysts guess that this vehicle should start at around $65,000 to $70,000. This summer, Cadillac will begin delivering the fully electric version of their popular Escalade SUV. This massive vehicle is going to take everything customers love about that legacy vehicle and put it in an electric form factor with even more bells and whistles. This vehicle shares a platform with the Hummer EV and will feature a massive 200 kilowatt-hour Ultium battery. That should allow it to travel a whopping 450 miles on a single charge. This is a very premium vehicle with captain's chairs throughout, a leather interior, plenty of storage, rear touchscreens and headrest displays, and front touchscreens that take up almost the entire front dashboard. This premium vehicle will come at a premium price, however. It's expected to start at $99,000 and go as high as $130,000, although I wouldn't be expected if it went even higher. So that's a big mix of many more affordable EVs coming on the horizon and many more expensive EVs coming somewhat soon. It seems like every single day we see new EVs getting announced, and it's incredibly exciting. More EVs are better for everyone, and all of these cars are getting much more practical to own as Tesla adds partners to their supercharger network. Now the real question is when these companies scale up their EVs to numbers that truly compete with all of the best options out there. I'm rooting for everyone, but it's likely that a number of these cars won't actually exist past a limited run in a few years. The most important thing going forward for mass EV adoption will be charging infrastructure and speeds, as well as truly seeing profitable cars that scale for $30,000, $25,000, and $20,000 or even less with tax credits. In the meantime, if you want to see the latest Tesla news, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.